Alan Wake 2 was shown off, and it had a pretty cool trailer. I think some people were watching it and they were like, what the fuck am I watching? And then it sort of started to look more like Alan Wake. So that was pretty cool. But I think the big thing about this game's announcement is the fact that it won't be available physically, which I think is like the first time for like a big AAA game to do so. And I think a lot of it is because of Epic Games funding behind it. So the reason why they are doing a digital only release, according to the FAQ, they're seeing that the landscape of gaming, people have their digital only consoles, and some people are shifting to digital only for their games, and also it's a way for them to keep the price down for $60 on console and actually $50 on PC. So for them to not ship a disc product, it also requires the player to download still. Like, even though I buy my physical games, I still have to download shit, which is annoying. Yeah, but at the same time, really I'm dumb. Like, I kind of want the disc for me personally. So
that's fair.
But yeah, I mean, like, this is going to be a big thing. I'm not sure how well it's going to do, because I know I saw a headline for a opinion piece where it was like a lot of like the recent games that came out this year, like at least half of the sales were physical. So it's like, how will this game do going digital only? Because this is Alan Wake 2 we're talking about here. This isn't like Resident Evil 4 remake or, any other like big major sort of title. This is Alan Wake. I'm not going to say it's an indie game title, but it's definitely not with those, bigger header titles that could possibly get away with a digital only release.
Yeah, I mean, I'm suspecting it's because Alan Wake is not a very popular IP to begin with. Like, obviously, it's like good and stuff. Like, I still need to finish Alan Wake 1. Like, people really like the series or the game that came out. Yeah. But when apparently they did the remaster like pretty recently for the first Alan Wake, and it sold like dog shit. So they were like, okay, like I think this is coming for more of a. Like they don't have a lot of faith in the game selling well enough, and they don't want to have a shit ton of copies just like in a warehouse. So it's like, okay, let's just put it digitally and like whatever. Like, they obviously still want to do it, but it just feels like they don't have a lot of faith that it's gonna sell well. And I think Remedy's always been kind of weird with that. Most of the games don't sell very well. Like Control, I think, was the only one that actually sold well. But like Alan Wake 1, Quantum Break, like those didn't do very well. So maybe this is just a way to keep like the set cost down. Like they just don't want to have a shit ton of like physical copies just like somewhere in a basement. Also, it makes it so they don't have to discount it as heavy as well. Like, if they have a shit ton of physical copies, like, okay, we have to discount it because we gotta get rid of this shit. If it's all physical, if it's all digital, you could just like wait longer to make it like, price cuts and shit. So again, the whole physical like digital debate is always like, one that everyone always has. I feel like I feel like physicals is like kind of a losing battle at this point. Like, I feel like even myself, I only really buy physical for Nintendo games. Like, everything else I just get digital, mostly because as soon as I put Miles Morales on my PS5 and it downloaded the fucking game, like, what's the point of this shit? So I just started buying them digitally fully. But like, I get it. Like, all the arguments against digital are definitely fair, and definitely, physical is probably always going to be better just because you own it. But it still feels like a losing battle because people just want a convenience. People want to preload. People just want to play the game and like not worry about anything else. So like, I get it. But I kind of get the reasoning, but it's still pretty disappointing for people that wanted this physical, just like own the game,
Yeah, it's definitely like a change of times in a way, because like nowadays, like, convenience is everything. Like, people want shit right when they buy it, kind of thing. So the fact that you can also now preload games, which is like pretty huge, which I might do for Spider-Man 2, who the fuck knows. It's like, okay, so I could preload the game, and then once midnight hits, it's like, okay, yeah, now I can play it. Like, that is such like a huge plus side of getting it digitally, which I understand. But at the same time, you don't own the game, you can't take advantage of like physical sales and like retail stores and things like that. So there are some disadvantages, but at the same time, when you buy like the Xbox Series S or X or whatever, that's like the digital version along with the PS5 version, it's $100 off. So like, you are saving that money initially, but like in the long run, I wonder how much money you could have actually saved if you like shopped smart enough and like looked for sales, etc., etc. But I mean, it's understandable. Like I said, I agree with you that Alan Wake is not necessarily like a big title. So for them to, go into this cautiously and be like, all right, we're not going to have a physical version because if we do, we're going to have to, like shelve it pretty quick if it doesn't sell well.
Yeah.
So I think for them to just have it on digital markets and have the console version be $10 more because of Epic sort of like funding and them being like, all right, well, if you have it on our store, we'll also have it $10 cheaper and we're also funding the game. So, you're going to have to put it on there anyway. So,
right.
yeah, hopefully the game actually does well because I know that, in my opinion, if the game does well enough, they will consider a physical release 100% because it's like, okay, well, now some people want to own the game or like they want to buy it for a friend or whatever, because they're not familiar with the whole digital marketplace or whatever. So I think that depending on the game's success, we will see a physical release. But I think that for now, for them to be like, we also don't want to charge $70 for it, which is like understandable because, $70 is like, it's only $10 more than $60, but it does look a little more scarier these days. Even though we're like a year or two into the current generation of consoles, it's like $70 price tag. That's still like pretty steep for a lot of people, including myself.
Every time I do my calculations for like whatever games I'm gonna buy, I'm like, oh fuck, right, it's 70, and then it does hurt.
Yeah.
So I mean, I feel like that $70 price point is always gonna be like such a big stain on games because people want games to be bigger, but not every game has to be a ginormous like open world 100-hour game. You know what I mean? So I feel like a lot of people are gonna be even more like pushed into making games like way more bloated than they ever were. Like Zelda, I think is like worth 70 just because there's like a shit ton of things in that game. But if you want to play like a platformer like Ratchet, right? Like people didn't think that game was worth 70. It probably wasn't because it's like a 10-hour 3D platformer. But, I don't know. It kind of just brings that, like, where do we draw the line in terms of content with money ratio? Because that's how a lot of people sort of view games now. And it kind of sucks because then, we don't get our, like, 10-hour games anymore that people like, because there's so much money. So, obviously, I don't mind long games, obviously, because I play Persona fucking Xenoblade, which is, like, 100 hours. But, I also like my short games. So, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like a whole deal that... I don't know how we got all of this with just Alan Wake. Sorry, Alan Wake. But I guess we'll see how the landscape goes. Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me to start seeing more games do this, like just abandon physical completely,
I think that this can set like a precedent within the industry. Like if this game actually does well enough on digital marketplaces where it's like, oh, like it actually like broke even or actually exceeded however much it costs to make it, then I think more studios will possibly consider releasing it digitally maybe like a week early and then have the physical release come out the week after, because like that can be a dangerous thing as well where it's like, all right, well, you can wait a week or you could just pay the $70 right now and you can play it instantly on your PlayStation 5. It's like, that's a dangerous thing to consider. Like if they fucking did that with Spider-Man 2, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. I'm doing it. It's definitely gonna be a weird precedent because a lot of people thought the $70 thing wouldn't catch on and it did. So this could definitely set a no physical release precedent for like a lot of games that are maybe more niche or like publishers think won't do as well. And I just put on digital stores because it probably won't do as well. So it's like the direct to DVD equivalent of a movie.
Basically, where you just don't have a lot of confidence that will really sell well.
Yeah, I mean, like indie games have been doing it for years with the whole digital marketplace, but for like a AAA game to do this, that is a little crazy. So
yeah, I guess we'll see how the future holds for that shit.
Yeah. And that game is coming out October 17th to those wondering.
Yeah, it's a good spooky season.
Before we dive